Deadpool's meeting Wolverine and the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare have seen the TV glow. I'm Van Connor.
And I'm Adam Ball, and this is Off Screen, your 7-day guide to everything movies.
Boom.
Groovy.
Hello and welcome back to Off Screen for another week of fantastic movies, hopefully, that we're going to talk about with Van. He's seen them all, obviously. I haven't, you haven't, and that's why we're here. So we've got the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare to talk about.
The new guy. Mouthful, that one, isn't it? Yeah.
I did have to slow that down a bit to make sure I didn't mess it up. That's the new Guy Ritchie movie. We've got, of course, the big one this week, Deadpool and Wolverine. But let's first of all start with a drama stroke horror called I Saw the TV Glow. And I've got to say, Van, the write-up to this, as in the synopsis write-up, is the most boring thing I think I've ever read.
It's one of the most bizarre things you'll have ever seen, to be perfectly honest. So, new one from writer-director Jane Scone Brown, and this is a hell of a thing. So, this is a story that takes place over 3 time periods. It follows a teenage boy, not initially played by, but eventually played by Justice Smith. You know, Justice Smith from Detective Pikachu and
yes,
2 and 3. And he is a high school boy who bonds with a fellow classmate over this sort of Buffy-like TV show that they fell in love with in the late 90s. It's called The Pink Opaque. It's very, very clearly meant to be Buffy the Vampire Slayer. They even use the Buffy font for the in-universe graphics, so they're not being subtle about it. And as he sort of bonds with this classmate, they both start to get increasingly drawn into and sucked into this show. At the same time that mysterious events start to occur in their lives. So, for instance, his mother has a health scare. The friend then disappears, threatens to move away, and then disappears. There is parental abuse in there as well. There is cancer. There is all sorts in there. And it all leads back, as the years go by, keeps leading back to this weird as hell, obscure TV show from the 1990s. I've got a clip for you that doesn't reference this show, but have a listen. This is the sort of weird dynamic between the pair.
If you wanted, I could come over again. I've been watching the tapes you've been making me, but I wanted to watch The Pink Opaque on Saturday night again while it airs.
I like girls, you know that, right? I'm not into boys.
Totally, that's fine.
Okay, I'm just making sure. What about you? Do you like girls?
I don't know.
Boys?
I think that I like TV shows.
Well, I'm sure they're happy on the inside. It's a very bright and colourful movie from watching the trailer.
Now, that is my MVP for this as well. So Eric Yu, this is like his first go as cinematographer. He's always been like a second unit guy, and this is his first proper go at being the DP, being the cinematographer. And what an eye, because this thing looks incredible. It's worth noting the entire thing is lit almost exclusively to the bisexual flag. So it's all blue, purple, and the other purple, I think, blue, purple, and magenta, I think. So the whole thing either just looks like the bi flag or John Wick, depending. Now, regarding that colour scheme and the content of that clip, is where you get to deep, dirty subtext of this, which is not very subtle at all, and it's actually kind of brilliant. So the whole thing is a massive trans allegory, and it's fantastic. So Jane Scone Brown herself is a trans woman. Justice Smith is a queer man. Brigitte Lundy Payne, who you could hear in the clip, I believe is non-binary. So there's a lot of LGBT cred going through this. And it's worth noting as well, Brigitte Lundy Payne, who I think, off the top of my head, is probably best known as playing Keanu Reeves' daughter in the third Bill and Ted movie. You remember Bill and Ted Face the Music?
Yeah.
Right. I kept thinking she was Emma Mackey. So I kept thinking they were Emma Mackey the entire way through this, because they look so alike. Like, I genuinely thought this is the best thing I've ever seen Emma Mackey in. Pulled up IMDb and went, it's not Emma Mackey, that's why. That's why I think this is the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh, no.
I know, nuts. Great performances, are really fierce, intense performances from these two. And Justice Smith in particular, final 2 minutes of the film, Justice Smith gets to go full tilt boogie on this. And it's a hell of a pair of turns from both of them. But I think with the writing on this, with the story, with the eye for this, with the visuals of this, what you walk away from here is ultimately, I don't want to say it's the LGBT horror movie of the year. It's a horror-tinged psychological drama. It's not going to appeal to everyone because it's not, I think, straightforward and coherent enough to be a weekend multiplex crowd pleaser type. But if you showed this, for instance, at like Fright Fest or something like that, I think you come away with 2 thumbs up from everyone in attendance. It's really immersive, really engaging. The pacing of it is done justly in such a way that you find yourself just on the edge of the seat, just wanting to know what the crack is. More than even if you're being annoyed by it, you would want to know what the crack is. And it has been, I think it's been said in interviews with Scone Brown that it is largely about, I think it's called the snap. I think it's called the snap moment. Apparently, it's obviously neither you nor I would have a frame of reference, but it is apparently a point in the journey of transitioning, for members of the trans community. Apparently, of realization, apparently is referred to as the snap, or something to that effect. If I'm getting it wrong, please don't at me. I promise I try to do as much research as possible. But I found this really compelling. And more than anything, I think it's an absolutely gorgeous movie. Do check this out if you want something unique and quirky and wonderful and weird, but also fascinating and gripping. And again, that takes you back to being a teen of the sort of Buffy Charmed era in the early 2000s. Like late 90s, early 2000s, this will be catnip to you. I recommend this to a bunch of friends who very much fit that mold, and a couple of them have really enjoyed it. Like I say, don't expect anything too straightforward or too coherent. It does like to have its mystery, but it does at least give you some resolution to it.
It's, to me, I feel like the way it looks watching the trailer, it would benefit from a really good soundtrack. It might have one already, I don't know.
It does, in fact, as you predict, have an incredible soundtrack. But it's very rooted in that late 90s Buffy kind of soundtrack. Remember the sort of bands that used to perform at the Bronze in Buffy? It's very much that kind of soundtrack. I very much expected to hear THC turning up on stage at some point in this, but alas, I was let down. I do miss the lead singer of THC, it has to be said. What a voice.
THC or TLC?
No, THC. THC.
Just checking.
The song Over Fire by THC is one of my go-to Get in My Pants songs, has to be said.
Yeah, you definitely don't come across as a don't go chasing waterfalls kind of guy, if I'm honest.
No, my favourite TLC song was Creep, actually, if you want me to get very specific. But there you go.
Well, there you go. If you fancy watching it, I mean, I haven't seen it, but just from watching the trailer, I would advise you to go and see it because it looks beautiful. It's stunning. I saw the TV glow in cinemas from today. All right, let's jump straight into the big one next. Deadpool and Wolverine. We'll see what Van thought. Stay right where you are. Hello and welcome back to Off Screen. Okay, let's dive straight in then to the brand new Deadpool and Wolverine. And I want to just quickly say, I had no idea that Ryan Reynolds was one of the writers of this.
Yes. I mean, to an extent, he's had a hand in writing most of them. Because, I mean, bear in mind, there's a lot of improv in any Ryan Reynolds film, particularly Deadpool. Right, we're going to get that out of the way because it is very, very difficult to disconnect Ryan Reynolds from Deadpool because the film only exists because of Ryan Reynolds. Like, it literally exists because, well, allegedly, he leaked the test footage. And it was so popular on the internet that they greenlit the movie. That's how the story goes. That it wasn't going to happen and that somebody who shall remain nameless leaked the footage. In a chat show interview a year or two later, I think Reynolds did actually confess to doing it. But I could be Mandela affecting that, as we've just been discussing off mic. So, third installment. This is the first Deadpool movie to be made since Disney bought Fox in 2017. And they literally open the movie by telling you that. By outright telling you, look, a bunch of stuff happened. Disney bought Fox. They didn't think I was going to come back. Here I am. But because Disney bought Fox and then had all the rights to all the Marvel Fox characters, it meant that not only can we have Deadpool now, we can have Wolverine as well. So, 6 years on from the events of the second one, Wade Wilson, Deadpool, is now kind of a loser. He's retired, he's given up the crime-fighting life, he's pretty much just eking out a living as a used car salesman, alongside Peter, Rob Delaney from the last movie. He is then contacted one day, mid-birthday party, by members of the TVA, the Time Variance Authority from the series Loki. Did you ever see Loki?
No.
They're basically multiverse police, effectively. They're led here by Matthew McFadden from Succession. Tom Wamsbegan, I think his name is, from Succession. I know him as the lead from Spooks, if I'm being honest, or Mr. Darcy from the 2005-2006 Pride and Prejudice, because I used to date an English teacher. And... Right, they basically established that because the key member of Wade Wilson's universe died, and said member was Wolverine, you remember, Logan, end of Logan, he died quite famously. Because he died, his universe is starting to decay. And because Deadpool is such a special character, they have elected to pluck him from his universe and deposit him into the MCU, into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, so that he can finally become an Avenger. Deadpool, however, has other ideas. Namely, he doesn't want all of his friends and loved ones to die when the universe implodes. So he decides to go on an interdimensional joyride through the multiverse to find a replacement Wolverine. This does not sit well with the TVA, because the Wolverine he chooses is, as we are told, literally the worst one. He's the one who let everybody down and caused a lot of people to die. And he and the pair of them are then dumped into the Void. Again, if you've seen Loki, this all, the Void and all that makes sense. Where they come face to face with all of the rejected variants of the different Marvel Cinematic Universe installments and beyond. That's all I'll say. And basically have to fight to return to their dimension and save reality as they know. I've got a clip for you. This is Deadpool meeting this particular Wolverine for the first time. And of course, as you can tell, he's not really enthusiastic about it.
Just give me one more drink and then I'll leave.
That's not how it works.
It does now. Leave the bottle. I know you, bub. Nope, but I know you. Everybody knows me. I'm the Wolverine. Yes, you are, and I'm gonna need you to come with me right now. Look, lady, I'm not interested. Really getting into your cups. Why would I go with you? Because, unfortunately, I need you, and even more unfortunately, my entire world needs you.
Do you know, I am a big Ryan Reynolds fan, and actually watching some interviews that he's done about this movie, I totally get what you mean by it's hard to distinguish between Deadpool and Ryan Reynolds, because he is Deadpool, even when he's not acting Deadpool.
The weirdest thing about it is, because I've been a Deadpool fan since about 2004. I think when I was really into comics in the early 2000s, Deadpool was a character I really enjoyed reading, because he does play on the page exactly as he does in the film. And it was very hard to imagine anybody else in the universe playing him. So it was kind of never a question that it was going to be Ryan Reynolds, because the personality type is just the guy, to be honest. It's hard to disconnect. This is the second best one of these. I still think the first one is the high watermark. I prefer this vastly to the second one, but I will be honest, for 2 hours and 7 minutes of this, and I do mean 2 hours and 7 minutes because you have to stay past the credits, trust me.
Always.
But for those 2 hours and 7 minutes, I sat in an IMAX screen in which nobody stopped laughing for the entire time. This thing is ruthlessly, mercilessly funny. It is outright gut-bustingly, side-splittingly hilarious. It's incredibly self-referential because it's a Deadpool movie. Of course it is. And this is the most misanthropic, miserable version of Wolverine you're ever likely to see. But in the same way that the chemistry between Deadpool and Cable worked in the previous installment, it works actually more so with the case of Wolverine and Deadpool. The cameos in it, which I can't begin to spoil because that's kind of the fun of it. I will say that when you get to the cameo side of this very quickly does become the movie that we were all scared Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness was going to be. However, I actually think they pull it off. It works better with Deadpool than it ever would have had we had that version of Doctor Strange. Directorially, I think it's the weakest one. This is Sean Levy directing, who did Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds. Was that 3 years ago? I think it was 3 years ago, Free Guy. And obviously they work very well, but it does feel like you've got a very journeyman director who's kind of there because he will do what the star tells him to do. Like, it very much feels like a functional directorial effort as opposed to anything done with any real verve. And if you saw the second one, for instance, that is a shame because directorially the second one might actually be the strongest of the lot. On the screenplay side, 3 writers credited on this. You've got the original pair from the first movie, Rhett Reese and Paul Wernick, who also wrote Zombieland, amazing script, but third writer Ryan Reynolds, and I think that the reason for that is actually he's just credited for all the improv. And you can tell because if you watch the trailer, half the lines don't match up with what's actually in the film. But not a black mark against it. Not really a duff word I can say. I think it's one of those films that if you're up for a good time, you'll have it. If you're going to go into this wanting to hate it, odds are you probably will. In which case, I will beg the question, why the hell are you showing up to Deadpool 3 in the first place? And I am, with that comment, making a very pointed statement towards the kind of arsehole peers of mine who have spent the last 2 days doing nothing but churning out 2-star reviews of this, saying, oh, it's a shallow exercise in corporate branding synergy. Like, yes, it's a Disney movie. Sod off and accept it. Get with the times. This is like the 35th Marvel movie now. I think after the first 3, you kind of lose any right to bitch and moan about it. When you're in the 30s, give it up. Come on. Don't go into Fast and Furious 11 telling me that it's not high art. I know it's not high art. I sat through the previous 10. Maybe get with the program a little. Maybe unbutton the cardigan, have a breather, have a Coke and a smile, and shut the F up. Just a thought. Just my 2 cents. Just maybe. No, maybe do what the rest of us did. Sit there for 2 hours and 7 minutes and have a laugh, for God's sake. Again, no one's expecting Citizen Kane from Deadpool 3. And if you are, I would argue you're the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. You got to take it for what it is. You know what you're going to expect if you're going to a Deadpool movie, right? Like, that's the brand. That's what it is. So, yeah, I get that. But it sounds awesome. And I'm assuming there are some amazing stunts and camera shots and angles and slow-mos and all that goes with it.
I mean, I say, it is directorially the weakest one. But, again, good times, good gags, incredible soundtrack drops. And to be fair, this isn't much of a spoiler because they actually unveiled it on a poster online. Like, Marvel actually put out, I think about 2 weeks ago, a social post that literally just listed the soundtrack. And I feel very confident in saying we are about to see a resurgence of Bye 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 by NSYNC. That song is about to be huge again. And for damn good reason. Like, it absolutely owns it. It's my favourite bit of the entire movie is right at the beginning. NSYNC, Bye Bye Bye. I am going to see this again. I've seen the first half of this twice, because the first half hour of it twice, because we had that fan event a few weeks ago. But I'm going back to see this again on Wednesday. It's my birthday movie. It's a birthday tradition. I go to the IMAX screen every year. This year it will be Deadpool. And do you know what? I was a bit annoyed that I wasn't going to get to see Twisters again. But having now seen the full version of Deadpool and Wolverine, bring it on. I will watch this a dozen times. I had a great time with this. It's not a 5-star movie because, like I say, quite badly directed. And cinematography a bit bleached out on the colour palette. But you know what? I got to see Wolverine in a yellow suit and he and Deadpool kicking ass to the sounds of Madonna's Like a Prayer. Job's done. You've got my money. Done.
Mic drop. Are you going to see it in 4DX?
No, I'll IMAX this. I wanted to see Twisters.
Yeah, you did.
They're stopping it the night before, annoyingly.
Well, sounds like a movie worth going to check, though. It's already in cinemas, Deadpool and Wolverine, and it's getting top marks from Van. Almost.
Almost.
Right, stay where you are. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare coming next. Stay there. Hello and welcome back to Off Screen. For one last ride, we are now looking at the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, which is out on Prime Video. It came out yesterday, and Van has said to me off mic, this is right up my street. So sell it to me.
Right, okay, so this is... And I did not know this story, and I could not believe this was real. Okay, so this is the new film from Mr. Guy Ritchie. And if we're keeping score, by the way, this is either the 4th or 5th film of his in a row that has gone straight to Amazon Prime, that has just skipped cinemas entirely. And at this point, it's becoming a bit weird and odd that they keep doing this to arguably one of the better known British filmmakers, really mainstream British filmmakers. So, this stars Henry Cavill, Isa Gonzalez, Alan Ritchson, Henry Golding, Alan Pettifer, Babs... I can never pronounce his surname. The Doctor from Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Carrie Elways, Rory Kinnear, massive cast, like really well-known cast. It is set during World War II, and it is based on, I've got the name of the book here, it is based on the 2014 non-fiction book, Churchill's Secret Warriors, The Explosive True Story of the Special Forces Desperados of World War II, by Damian Lewis. And it is actually it chronicles the events of Operation Postmaster, which was a secret operation greenlit behind closed doors by Churchill during World War II in order to, and this is part of a multi-tiered thing because there's a lot that went into getting America into World War II. This was just one of the elements. In order for America to send soldiers and supplies across the Atlantic, Churchill's government had to first deal with the issue of German U-boats. And what he did was greenlit a clandestine operation to go into neutral Spanish territory on the south coast of Africa. I believe it was the southwestern coast of Africa, to take out a German supply boat that contained all of the supplies needed to run all of the U-boats. Now, history did tell us that they didn't take it out so much as take it. And I do mean nick it. They nicked the boat. That's what history says. But how did they get there? So what you have is a two-pronged operation where we have two teams. One team who were on an actual boat sailing there to actually try and take out the boat. You then had another team that were on the ground in country to basically locate the supplies and actually point the other team in the right direction. So essentially what you're getting here is Guy Ritchie's version of Inglourious B-Words. Remember that movie? This is Guy Ritchie's.
I loved it.
Yeah. Imagine the Guy Ritchie version. That's what you're in for here. Have a listen. This is the boat team, Henry Cavill's team, staking out a German prison camp in which one of their team is being held.
When do we go?
0200. Take the towers first, then move on to the radio room, barracks, and end up in the control room. What do we have here? Gestapo.
How'd you know?
The badder they are, the better they're dressed. Really must get me one of those coats.
They must be here for Apple. It's either torture or extraction, sir.
If they extract him, that'll be the end of Apple. We won't be seeing him again. I'm afraid, gentlemen, we're not going to have the luxury of night. We're going to have to go in now.
I love the sound of this, not only because it's Guy Ritchie, but also because I love things that are based on true stories. Like I don't know what it is, but I am absorbed so much more when I know that it actually happened.
You can genuinely understand when you see like the script for this, or when you see the movie play out, you can absolutely understand how Guy Ritchie had this script put in front of him and went, yep, that's it. I've got to do that. That has to happen. This might be the best role Henry Cavill's ever had. No joke. Henry Cavill has never had a role this good. He's fantastic in this, and yet he's not even the scene stealer. The scene stealer is Alan Ritchson. You know Reacher, Jack Reacher from the Amazon Prime show. He's terrific in this. That guy is having a ball, and he's very much the Eli Roth of this group. If you know if you remember Inglourious, he's very much the Eli Roth of this group, and Henry Cavill would be your Brad Pitt, effectively. Babs Olusanmoken is the actor whose name I could not pronounce. He plays the Doctor on Strange New Worlds, as I say. He is the leader of the ground unit with Isaac Gonzalez. It's worth noting as well, a very weird little thing. The token German bad guy in here is played by Til Schweiger, who also noticeably starred in Inglourious B-Words. So I can't help but feel that was intentional. Half of this is genuinely terrific, and it is the half that follows Henry Cavill's team. The half that follows the ground unit, Babs and Isaac Gonzalez as unit, is not quite as engaging or as interesting. It does not hold your attention quite as well as the Henry Cavill stuff. But to be fair, that's largely because the Henry Cavill side of this is more action-driven, and it's brutal and fast and frenzied and really, really punchy. But like I say as well, you've also got Alan Ritchson at the centre, all just having a whale of a time. There's a sequence involving Alan Ritchson and a fire axe in this that's going to stick with you. That's going to stick with you for a while. Also, no grown man has ever made a bow and arrow look as cool as he does here, and I am including Hawkeye and Kevin Costner in there. So make of that what you will. This story, apparently, the actual Operation Postmaster, did form the basis for the early James Bond novels, because Ian Fleming is a character in the movie. But absolutely terrific stuff on that half. I didn't go with the ground half quite as much as I enjoyed that, but it's very much a Dunkirk situation where certain storylines don't necessarily work for certain people the same way. But you're going to have a ball with this, especially if you love the Tarantino movie. You're going to want to see this. It comes perilously close to stepping on the toes of the story I always wanted to write for the screen, which also featured Ian Fleming, weirdly, which was the Baker Street Irregulars. But I think for a streaming movie, this is genuinely something. This is the movie that if Deadpool's sold out, go home and watch this instead, or go and see I Saw the TV Glow. But really, it's got Guy Ritchie's usual frenzied direction, but with punchier action than I think we're used to from him. We're used to him doing the slow-mo speed ramping thing. Here, he's doing frenzied direction with, I think, frenzied action staging, which is something new for him, and I think works very well. It definitely washes away the bitter aftertaste of, was it Operation Fortune? With Jason Statham and... Yeah, it washes away the bad taste of that, I think, quite a bit.
Am I right in thinking that they've actually used some real archive footage in this as well? Because I just saw Hitler.
Oh yeah, they've used a few bits like that. It's worth noting they don't use archived footage of Churchill because he is a prominent character, so it is Rory Kinnear in makeup. And not terribly convincing makeup. He looks a bit weird and kind of like the Emperor from Dune. The Baron from Dune. But, yeah, good enough.
Amazing. That just reminds me, I went to Blenheim Palace for an event a couple of weeks ago, and they had a Winston Churchill lookalike called Winstone Churchill. And it did look like him, because obviously that's where he was born.
I want to see Ray Winstone Churchill. That's what I need to see.
Absolutely love this. You've sold it to me, like, true story, loads of great action. I've watched the trailer where you've been talking. Like, I really think this is one to watch. And, as you say, you don't have to leave the sofa of your own home to be able to watch it.
I will say, if the opening scene of the movie doesn't grab you, this is not the movie for you, because it's got one of those opening scenes that's very, I say, Inglourious B-Words. But yeah, if that opening doesn't get you, the rest of this ain't.
Well, you can check it out this weekend. If you've got nothing to do, it's on Prime Video already. The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. Right, let's have a quick gander at what we've got to cover next week or week after next. We're not here next week, so the week after next, what we're going to look at.
So, because these things usually turn out so well, we've got a video game adaptation leading the way next time. Borderlands, which is not a video game I'm overly familiar with. I know a lot of people are. I'm not familiar with Borderlands, but this is actually the new Eli Roth movie as well. So Eli Roth has directed this, bizarrely. We've also got It Ends With Us with Blake Lively, which is an adaptation of a best-selling novel. I know quite a few people, notably all women, who are very into seeing this. Like it's like got some clout going for it. Matt Damon is back. He's starring with Casey Affleck again in The Instigators. We've got the comedy Babes as well. A movie that holds a certain distinction to me at the moment because it's the return of Neil Marshall, and it's Duchess, new movie from Neil Marshall, starring his real-life partner and the film's co-writer, Charlotte Kirk. It's called Duchess, as I say. It's like a female-led revenge actioner. And you know I've been looking forward to this for a long, long time. Josh Hartnett in M. Night Shyamalan's Trap. I cannot wait.
Josh Hartnett, I haven't heard that name for so long.
Do you know where's he been? He lives here. He lives in England, you know.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
He became a family man. He married a British actress whose name I forget. I don't think she was one of the 4 women from 4321. And he married her and kind of just settled down and became really just a family guy. He's kind of a family man now, but he has started acting again. He was in Oppenheimer last year.
Oh, yes, of course he was. Yes, I totally forgot about that. Well, we'll look at all of those in a couple of weeks. That's all we've got time for this time round. As I mentioned, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Until then, I've been Adam Ball.
I've been Van Connor, and we shall return.